Hi there, I'm Kathleen Jasper, and today we're going to go through the Praxis Teaching Reading 5205, a sample constructed response question. This was sent to me from someone, and I thought it was a good one, so I thought I would do a video on it today. Let's get started. All right, so this is going to be a text-heavy presentation today. So there's going to be a lot of text on the screen. So you're going to want to maximize the screen, turn your phone sideways so you can see this whole thing. I tried to make it as big as possible here, but remember, we are working with text. So we're going to be reading a little bit and writing a little bit. So when you come to a teaching reading constructed response, you are going to see something like this. You have the directions here, the scenario, task 1 and task 2. Now, in the directions, it says, read the following scenario, then respond to the tasks. But you know that I always work backwards, right? So we're going to actually start down here with the tasks because it's better to understand what we're being asked to do before we get into the scenario. Otherwise, you read the scenario, then you read the task, then you forget the scenario. You got to go back and look at the scenario, and it's a mess. So let's just go to the tasks first. And here we have task 1. Let's read it. Choose 2 of the individuals or groups to target for instruction. So we need to choose 2 groups or individuals to target. So someone needs some interventions. So I already know that right now just by reading the task. Discuss 1 instructional strategy. So for the 2 groups, we're going to use 1 instructional strategy that can be implemented to improve the literacy skills of these particular students. Thoroughly explain the strategies and rationale. Well, what does that mean? I need to explain what the strategies are, and the rationale is the reason why I'm doing it. All right. So this particular task, we have like 3 or 4 things we have to do. We have to choose what kids we're going to target, and it's going to be 2 different groups or 2 different students. We're going to do 1 instructional strategy to meet the needs of those students. And then we're going to explain what that strategy is and how it's done. And then we're going to say why and why it's effective and all of that. Task number 2 is discuss 1 differentiation strategy that the teacher can incorporate to meet the needs of the whole classroom. So now we're talking whole group. So what can I do whole group to meet the needs of all the students in the class? And then just like above, we need to defend the effectiveness. It's the same thing as explaining it and giving the rationale. All right, so now I kind of know what I need to do. I need to target some students, and then I need to figure out how to differentiate for everyone in the class. Now I'm going to actually structure this in 2 paragraphs. Task number 1 is going to be its own paragraph, and task number 2 is going to be its own paragraph, okay? All right, let's go ahead and read the scenario and see what we're working with here now that we have the task in our minds and we know exactly what we're supposed to do. 2nd grade, okay, that's important because 2nd grade, English language arts teacher Mrs. Benson has a class of 20 students with a range of skills. Well, we know that any class of 20 kids is going to have a range of skills. 12 students read grade appropriate, so 12 are on grade level. They read literary and informational texts with fluency and comprehension, so they're good. 5 students decode 1st grade text. Well, that's not grade level because we're talking about 2nd grade. They do 1st grade text with fluency, but struggle to decode. Okay, that gives me an indication of where their skills are a little bit low. Their grade level curriculum. So we have a group of kids who can't decode on grade level. And it says, additionally, their limited understanding of vocabulary interferes with comprehension. 1 student is gifted. So we have 1 student who is gifted and reads and comprehends 3 years above grade level. Okay, so this kid is way off the chart. So 3 years above grade level. And then 2 students are beginning English skills or beginning English language learners and have gained fluency with most letters and sounds. All right, so for task number 1, I need to choose 2 students. And in this case, for targeted interventions, I think the 5 students who are having problems decoding, which are your kids right here, and the 2 students who are beginning English skills learners, we could do a decoding strategies that would meet the needs of both of these groups of students. So right away, I have that in my head. That's who I'm going to use for task number 1. All right. And if I'm trying to choose what strategy I'm going to use, I am going to have to go to my study guide or my skills or whatever it is to remember what sort of decoding strategies do we use when we're trying to help with students. Now, I have a whole study guide that outlines the phonics and decoding section of this particular test, and that's what this constructed response question is from. So it would behoove you to really look at that study guide and understand all of the different strategies in there. I'm going to show you what I mean. All right, so this is the study guide. This is the digital study guide. And I'm going to focus on consonant vowel patterns because I really like this. I know a lot about it and it's easy for me to write to. You're going to choose whichever one is easy for you to write to. But you can see here that this particular part is in the phonics and decoding section. And my two groups of students, I'm going to target with decoding strategies. So in that case, this area here, consonant vowel patterns, will work. And I know a lot about this, and it's going to be easy for me to write to. Okay. Now, there are a number of strategies in this book that you can choose from. And that's why I always say you really need to read the study guide because there's so much information here that by the time you are done looking through all of this, you will understand what strategies you should use for the constructed response. But for now, I am definitely going to use this CVC, CVCC, CVC silent E, and the CVC pattern. Sorry, it's a tongue twister. Basically consonant vowel patterns. And you can see this particular table here. Okay. So I know what strategy I'm going to use. I know what kids I'm targeting. Now I got to put it together and put it into a easily understandable paragraph so that the graders can see what I'm trying to say. All right, so remember, I am going to do task 1 as its own paragraph. So I'm not going to intermingle task 2 and task 1. Task 1 is going to be on its own, all right? And let me show you what that looks like. All right, so here we go. You can see I have task number 1 and task number 2, but let's just focus right now on task number 1, all right? Now, I already said for this class, I would target the students who have trouble decoding grade level text and the students with beginning English skills. Okay, so those are my two groups of students. Right away, I hit that task attribute. So right away, that's a check mark for that. Both groups of students would benefit from phonics and decoding instruction. That is true because this group of students, those 5 students, have trouble decoding on grade level, and we have beginning English language skills students, and they would benefit from decoding instruction as well. And then I say specifically consonant vowel patterns. Notice I didn't say decoding instruction. That's too broad. We got to get specific. They want to know what specific strategy. So consonant vowel patterns, that's what I'm choosing. And then now I'm getting into the rationale as to why I use it, and I'm going to explain it. This strategy will help students who are struggling to decode grade level text by reinforcing, and here I get specific with the CVC, CVCC, and all that, words regularly seen in grade level text. So you are going to see these words in second grade text. This will help the students with beginning English skills move from simple letter fluency, which I took from the actual scenario. That's what it said. They had simple letter fluency, to use those letters together to make simple words that follow these consonant vowel patterns. So there, I explained what the strategy is. We're working on consonant vowel patterns. Why does it work? And here's another piece of the rationale. This will introduce and reinforce essential skills for both groups of students. Good. We've got the more broad where I talk about we're going to use some decoding. Then I get more specific into the actual strategy. Then I talk about how we're going to use it. And then I talk about why it's important. Task number 1 here meets all of the requirements that they want me to do for this particular constructed response. Okay, now let's go back and just revisit task 2 here really quickly. It says discuss one differentiation strategy that the teacher can use for the whole class. Well, we know from the scenario that we have on grade level students, we have 1 gifted student, we have 5 students who have trouble decoding grade level text, and we have some beginning English language learners in the class. So we have them all. So what I'm going to choose to do here is use a tiered activity. That makes sense, right? Tiered. It can be really hard for those who are above grade level. It can be kind of on level for those who are on level. And then it can be scaffolded for those who need more support. So let me show you what I did with task number 2. All right. I reinforced the students in this class have a range of abilities. That was just kind of my intro sentence. You don't even need it. You could start here. The best differentiation strategy would be tiered activities. And then I have why. This will ensure that I am challenging those who are reading on grade level, assisting those who need support in certain areas, and stimulating the student who is gifted. Remember, we got to remember that gifted kid. He or she is 3 grade levels above in reading. Can't just give her, or him an on-level text. It's not going to do it. Now I need to explain the strategy because we got to get specific. The tiered activity would include a piece of text slightly above grade level, since the majority of the class is reading on grade level. This will challenge these on-level students to stretch beyond their current skills, because we always want to be pushing those students who are on level to like move up, move up, move up. We're always pushing, right? In addition, I will build in scaffolds. You always want to use this word when we're talking about teaching reading. Scaffolds are important for the students who are below grade level. So I'm going to give this slightly above grade level text, but I'm going to build in some scaffolds and supports for those students who are having problems decoding, and also who have beginning English language skills. Scaffolds will include, now I'm specific. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to help them. What is it? How are you going to help them, right? So scaffolds will include chunking the text, so students who read slightly below grade level can focus on smaller pieces of text and work on their decoding skills. There you go. I brought it back to what was said in the scenario. And I will reduce the text into even smaller pieces for the students with beginning English language skills. They will focus on 1 or 2 sentences at a time. So a simple tiered activity with a few little scaffolds in it works. All right. Now, the gifted kid. The gifted student will have the opportunity to choose. And here's the thing about gifted students. One of the ways in which we can differentiate for gifted students is to allow them choice and open-ended assignments, because it challenges them. All right. So the gifted student will have an opportunity to choose from a group of 5th grade texts, because this is 2nd grade and they said the student is 3 levels above. So I'm going to give the student a choice of some 5th grade texts and complete an open-ended assignment. All right. So I've been specific. I've talked about why I'm going to help, how I'm going to help. I've got all the specifics in here. Task number 2 is good to go. Now you might be saying, well, you didn't address it said here, what did it say? Vocabulary interferes, right? It says additionally, vocabulary interferes with comprehension. I don't have to, because I use decoding to meet the needs of those 2 groups of students in task number 1. You can pick and choose what you're going to do. This is what I chose to do. There are other ways in which you can approach this particular constructed response, okay? But notice real quick, let's go back to here. Notice there are 2 tasks, so there are 2 paragraphs. I got specific on what I was going to use for interventions, and also in terms of the assignment that I'm going to do. I talked about who it's going to help, how it's going to help them, and why I'm using it. And that is the most important thing. You can find the study guide on KathleenJasper.com. Just simply go to study guides here, 5205, and you can see that you can purchase the digital study guide on my website, which looks a lot like the one that I just showed you on the screen, or you can purchase the physical copy right here on Amazon. Both are exactly the same. One is just a physical copy and the other is a digital copy. It just depends on how you like to consume information. You can get this on Amazon Prime and it's usually at your house within 2 days. If you buy the digital copy, it's sent right to your email and you can download it right away. All right, so I hope that helps. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out at info@KathleenJasper.com. I wish you luck on your teaching reading 5205 exam. And there are a bunch of other playlists and things like that that I'll link up in the description below that goes with that exam. Have an awesome day.